Hello, I'm Wes, the Explosion, and this is the Backlog. So, new Pokémon Snap came out this week, but I had one game I needed to get to first. Dragon Quest Sword, the Masked Queen and the Tower of Mirrors. Probably could have just called it Dragon Quest Sword, but maybe they were expecting this to turn into its own spin-off series, and that's where the subtitle came from. Anyway, it's another Dragon Quest title, this time for the Wii, which means it gets motion controls. More on that in a bit. First though, the setting. Once again, you are in a medieval fantasy land that's having trouble with a demon lord. Or they were, but he was defeated years ago and you're celebrating the anniversary of his defeat. There's a display of swordsmanship that serves as your tutorial. Then the next day is your birthday. You're turning 16, which qualifies you as a man, and you take a rite of passage to prove your manliness. However, it's a little untraditional in your case because the queen that is supposed to run the ceremonies is absent, being out of sorts of late and wearing a strange mask. If you have played any Dragon Quest title, or really, just any sort of fantasy RPG, you can probably figure out where this is going. Soon, you have to deal with more than just the simple festivities that you originally bargained for. Now, there's the hub, the castle town of Avalonia. You can freely explore the area to shop, upgrade equipment, play minigames, practice swordplay, save, or just talk to the town residents. When you're ready to head out for the main gameplay, you head to the town gates. Rather than a full world to explore, you get a continent map and can choose whatever area you wish from the ones you have unlocked. You can go to the next level to advance the story, or revisit old ones to grind up experience or materials, or just to try for a higher score. The levels themselves are on-rail hikes, you choosing to walk either forwards or backwards with very little control of the camera. The main interaction is choosing which way to go when coming to forks in the path or clicking on certain rocks and the like that may hold items. Frequently, your walk will be interrupted by attacking enemies, which is where the motion controls come in. You have a Wiimote, no nunchuck, as your only control option. Your sword swings as you swing, with vertical, horizontal, and diagonal swipes. Each is focused on the center of the screen, unless you click with your cursor, controlled by pointing, on another part of the screen, which will recenter your strikes for a limited time. You can also thrust, which will strike wherever you're pointing. You can also bring up a shield, which will move as you move your cursor, but won't allow you to attack and will get rid of your lock-on. The shield can take damage, which will get rid of pieces and make your blocking surfaces smaller. This gets repaired when you return to town or use a restorative item. You can also build up a special meter, each successful hit building it up by 1%. There are a few special strikes, which require specific motions to use. You can also pause the action to bring up a menu to do things like use items or give orders. Each of the battles are assigned to specific sections of your path and may have multiple waves. Your typical Dragon Quest monsters are here, with only one boss about halfway through the game and then the final boss being creatures I didn't recognize. Monsters can move between the foreground, where they can be attacked, or lurk in the background to use spells. Spells can be blocked, some can be struck if you don't want to damage your shield, and some can even be knocked back. I think that covers combat, except for one last thing, your party members. There are 3 that will accompany you through your journey. The first is Anlas, the prince of the land, and a serious mama's boy. At first I thought he'd be douchey and arrogant, and when he first approached me with a jab about my swordplay in one of the first scenes, I figured I was right. However, he soon showed himself to be a good friend of the main character, supporting him and making sure that he's taken care of when in need, so it seems like that was just a friendly tease. He has a good head on his shoulders and is very responsible, his only real flaw being his overprotectiveness of his mother, which may actually be warranted in these circumstances. He can use basic heals and support magic, as well as some fire spells. Then there's Fleurette. Most of the characters in the game have British accents, but she speaks in a French one, with some of the actual language peppered into her speech. She is fashion-focused and showers the hero with praise, which is a nice ego boost. She's trying to find help for her brother who is suffering from some sort of affliction. She's the healer, with all of her spells except for one being used for recovery. Then there's your dad, Claymore. He has a metal arm, giant chin, and no ass, and helped fell the Demon Lord previously. He spends most of his time at the local pub, chatting up ladies, leading them on, and then disappearing. If that wasn't questionable enough, at one point he tells you not to tell your mother, so I'm guessing he's still married. I mean, I guess he could be telling you not to tattle on him if you visit her grave or something, but given his shady nature, I wouldn't put him pulling some funny business while his wife's out of town past him. He can use buff and cast big spells for big damage. At the start of each stage, you choose one party member to join you. While Anlas was my favorite and who I shipped the hero with, Florette is the healer, and I know basic RPG strategy, so I would always bring her along. Given that the bench members get no experience and the hero will likely already be at a higher level when you get a party member, it's kinda hard to swap the different people and balance out their levels given the gap that you're already creating. Best to just choose one that works for you and stick with them. So, sorry, my sweet prince. Maybe next time. Anyway, you can set the AI to fight wisely, aggressively, defensively, or only use spells when you order them to. So then, how does the game play? Motion controls are often hit or miss after all. At first I had trouble, but I was sitting too close and managed to do a lot better after moving my chair back several feet. Then near the end of the game, the problems returned, the game sometimes registering swipes that were clearly different than what I was swinging. By that time though, I was showing low battery, so that may have had something to do with it. I don't know about the inner workings of the Wiimote. Is that a thing that happens? Another frustration is that you lose your cursor by swinging like a madman sometimes, and there's no quick way to recenter it. So you can take damage if you're not getting your shield back up in time. This isn't too bad though, since you can just hit the menu button to pause the action until you get yourself together. The hitboxes are also a little weird. When it comes to reflecting the projectiles, the game is super generous. But when it comes to hitting monsters, if you're even a millimeter off, your attack doesn't hit, which seems kind of inconsistent. The game also seems to want you to do a lot at once, sometimes throwing a lot on screen and expecting you to attack, block, and reflect multiple things at once. On an early level, there was a section where you had to fight a swarm of bees, which poison you every time they hit. So I kept getting poisoned, healed, then poisoned again, wasting my partner's MP. I had to swap her to manual and then just heal at the end. Of course, all that said, I still had a lot of fun with this game. There are 8 chapters, and some of the later ones were a little much, but for the most part I enjoyed my time with it. While it's probably no surprise that I think it plays better than Sonic and the Black Knight, a little more controversial would be my opinion that this is also better than The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. What they have works well enough here and is forgiving enough that it's not too frustrating, although, as I said, it does have its points. Technology has improved since then, so if Square Enix ever decided to try something like this again, I think it would work really well. It'd almost certainly be an improvement. Overall, this isn't a game that I think anyone needs to seek out, but if you have a working Wii and can find a used copy for 10 or 20 bucks, I think it's definitely worth your time. There's even a post-game, like most Dragon Quest titles, which I didn't feel the need to play. Maybe if I ever get down my list to a more manageable size, I can give the DQ game some more time. I just mentioned this because with that in mind, some people might actually get more out of this game than I did. Just something to consider. Then for what most people watching this actually want to hear about. New Pokémon Snap. I've been playing this today and yesterday, and I'm having a lovely time. It's like the old game, but more. More Pokemon, more features, more better graphics. When the game first came out, it was such a weird concept that it seemed like the sort of thing no one would want to play, but once we got our hands on it, it was all any of us wanted to play. It's a real shame that it took as long as it did to get a sequel. For those who don't know, the game is an on-rail shooter. Only you're shooting film, not bullets at your targets. You take the best pictures possible, taking into account angle, size, positioning, other figures in the background, and special poses. There are puzzle elements, you having limited interactions with your targets that you try to use to get them to do what you want them to do. I had high hopes for this game, and so far, I see no reason to think that I'll be disappointed. I do have 2 complaints though. First, Nintendo, stop advertising this to me, especially the longer ads. Don't get me wrong, I like the people I watch getting ad revenue, but it can be a bit much. As soon as you announced it, it was an instant buy for me. Do you know how bad you would have needed to make this game look for me not to pick it up? You would have had to have only one Pokemon in the game, chained up and looking miserable, while you circled it with a kiddie roller coaster with a camera you got out of a cereal box with only 5 shots, with 5 more Pokemon coming as slow release DLC, $20 each, for me not to pick this up. This is the easiest money I ever spent. So, Nintendo, you don't have to try so hard with me. The second is the name. New Pokémon Snap just bugs me. The name just doesn't age well. New Super Mario Bros. Came out 15 or so years ago. Not so new anymore, is it? Then again, it was a new take on the old 2D title, so I guess there's still some argument that it is new, kind of, relatively speaking. With this though, it just seems like the same game, just more. So, the name sucks. Maybe if the world ends tomorrow and our shades just float in space forever, we'll consider it the new Pokemon Snap as we continue to roam throughout infinity. But even if we never get another game, I still don't think it'll take too long for this name to start to sound stupid. Heck, for me, it's already here. Of course, these are just gag complaints more than anything. The game is great so far, and I'm thankful that someone on the team made Meganium a major focus in the game. I always loved Meganium and always felt kinda bummed that it seemed like a lot of people either disliked or forgot about it. So, much appreciation. Also, it's got online functionality where you can post pics that you edit yourself. Well, I don't really care, I do want to collect the titles I can get from this, so if you see this picture, give it a like. Once I get what I need to unlock the award though, I will cease caring. Oh, and I'm using motion controls, so this game does stay on theme. And going off script a bit, because I did play more since writing this, I am really freaking loving this game, my gosh. I don't have my full thoughts just yet because I'm only partway through it. I'm not sure if it's even halfway yet. But so far, I would say this is an easy recommendation. Wow. That's one game down this week, and I should be able to beat Snap by next episode. I'll only be putting it on the backlog if I don't. I'm also only 54 out of 1,069 pages away from finishing the worst book I ever read. I really wish that the page numbers counted down for this book, because even though it takes me only a few seconds to figure it out myself, I've been doing this anxiously so many times that having it numbered that way would have likely saved me a few hours by now. I have anime to watch and podcasts to listen to. Enough about that, though. Also worth mentioning, Mewtwo's checkup went well this week. I think she's doing a lot better, so she's probably safe. That's my cat for those who haven't seen past episodes. But regardless, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this sort of thing, maybe consider subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you next week.